How much PvE and PvP is there in Dune Awakening? The game is coming closer and closer, and a lot of people are wondering, wait, is this one of those survival games where you have a little bit of PvE and then mostly have to do PvP? Well, that's a pretty good question, because if you are coming from Conan Exiles, which is also a Funcom game, or some other survival games, then that is exactly the case, right? Yes, I know now in Conan Exiles, there's actually quite a bit of PvE you can do, but when the game first came out, it was very much the other way around. Yeah, there was crafting, there was farming, and there were a few PvE activities. But if you wanted to play this game in a long term, then PvP was the go-to thing. And so people are a little bit worried if the same thing is happening in Dune Awakening. Now, before we take a deeper look at that, let me make something very clear. All the information I have gathered to make this video are publicly available. We have trailers, gameplay sessions from the developers, or journalists or content creators were allowed to play the game and also talk about it. There is nothing here from the beta, because even if I would have access to the beta, keep in mind there is an NDA on the beta, so that means you are not allowed to talk about it in any shape or form. So with that said, let's have a look at the PvE. How much is there? Well, there seems to be a lot of farming, there seems to be a lot of crafting. I mean, it's a survival game, but there also seems to be a lot of PvE and activities you can do alone or with your friends. So you are starting out with a tutorial, as far as we know, and then you are following a main storyline, because the Dune you are playing in is an alternate reality, right? It's not like the books or the movies, so they have quite a bit of freedom in what they can do. And there is like a whole story they're trying to tell you while you are slowly climbing to the end game. And then, of course, you will have the ability to craft items, to build your houses, but there will also be PvE activities like different camps of different factions you can fight, and there will be like daily contracts slash quests, which we don't know much yet. The same goes with the factions. At some point, you can join one of the factions, and then they will have missions for you you can acquire. Again, how that exactly works, we have to see. But there will also be points of interest all over the map, which are basically like big PvE hubs where you can just go and fight a lot of enemies, gather resources, or do some quests. And then, last but not least, there will also be dungeons, right? Like in an MMORPG, you will go into an instance dungeon alone or in your group. Yes, Funcom has confirmed that you can play every content in the game alone if you so desire, or with friends, or with randoms even. And those dungeons will have your trash mobs. They will have different boss encounters where you have to figure out certain mechanics, where they have certain abilities. And then at the end of the dungeon, there are, of course, the big loot boxes everyone is after. So that is also in the game. And now the next question is, okay, that's all cool, but how is the end game? Well, this is where it becomes a little bit hazy, because the end game is definitely still one of the bigger question marks in the game. When you are reaching the end game, you will unlock the Deep Desert. And the Deep Desert is a PvE PvP zone. So there will be PvP in it. And this is basically where the whole PvP adventure starts. And there will be things to be done for the PvE players, as far as we know. But it is mostly a PvP zone. And why would you want to go there as a PvE player? Well, as far as we know, there are some really rare resources in the Deep Desert, and some of those resources can only be acquired there. Keep in mind that information is from last year. We already know that some of that has changed in the recent months, that they apparently now offer more things you can get without doing PvP, so that they're offering like the resources for people who really don't want to do PvP. We will see exactly how this will play out. They are still apparently doing some bigger changes here and there. But the Deep Desert is really interesting because they have also said that they want people who normally don't do PvP to check it out, because they are areas where there won't be like the big PvP fights. Like, just don't go into the areas where like big guilds are fighting against each other, and you should be fine. We will see how true that really is. But yeah, PvP and the guild fights will definitely be one of the big end game features in the Deep Desert. Now, for everyone who really doesn't want to touch PvP, keep in mind that the Deep Desert is its own map, its own thing. You cannot just stumble into it. You have to make a conscious decision to go there. It's its own map, and if you're somebody who really doesn't want to go there, then you can make that choice. But when it comes to other endgame activities, we don't know how much there is and what you can do. As I said before, right, Funcom has now confirmed that every feature in the game can be played solo or with multiple people. And I think that's a very important information, because that always gives a pretty good impression on how much PvE content there is, if you need a group or not, or, well, you can just do it yourself. And that's basically all we know right now about the PvE. It seems like they are trying to build in quite a bit of MMORPG features. If that is the case, then that's a pretty good sign for all the purely PvE players. If you are somebody who only wants to do PvP, well, then it seems like you are a little bit out of luck, because you have to go through the main story. You have to level your character before you can really go into the Deep Desert. So while you can ignore PvP, you can't ignore PvE before you can go to the PvP. But with that said, we're at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like. And also, if you're new to the channel, you want to see more Dune Awakening videos, then don't forget to subscribe. With that said, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe. Bye-bye.